Yes, hello, it is Off My Bridge time, and we're looking at the coolest type of officer on a starship bridge, but also the one who has actually, technically, the least to do, which is kind of surprising considering how important they are throughout the series. I'm talking about the Helmsman. Now, the Helmsman, helmsperson, helms officer, has always traditionally been responsible for guiding the ship, flying the ship, making sure that the ship is safe. But in Star Trek Adventures 2, that's not a huge responsibility. There aren't many situations where this kind of thing is just presented as a thing. Movement is with two orders, impulse or thrusters, and that's about it. So what else does the helmsperson do? Well, during combat there's a lot to do, but in downtime, not so much. So let's deep dive into how to play a helmsperson and discover there is far more to this role than meets the eye. So what is their key mandate? To keep the ship safe and to not crash. That's their key mandate. So if you're at the helm, your objective is to not crash the ship, Deanna Troi. Now, the idea of keeping the ship safe means that you should be asking several questions on a continuous basis. What's around the ship, or the space shuttle, or the aircraft, or the vehicle that I'm driving? What's around us? What is a potential threat? What is a potential dangerous space? What is difficult terrain? What is not difficult terrain? Where should we be versus where are we? How are we going to get from here to there? What is the safest route? What is the fastest route? What route circumnavigates the most dangerous parts of this route? All of that is questions that you should be asking as the helmsman. Now, understanding that information, well, that comes from the science department. Hey, there's a giant nebula in front of us. Science, what's happening in this nebula? Let the scientists do their thing. This nebula is da 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 da. Okay, cool. So we've got to fly around it, right? We're going to have to do this to do that. What does this mean for us? If we're going into a nebula, what are the effects going to be on the ship's maneuverability? Are we going to have gravimetric shear? Are we going to have different layers of turbulence going on? What is happening to my ship? This is all important stuff for the helmsperson to be asking. Furthermore, and I think this is the most important one, is that helm should constantly be looking at, if we have to get out of here in a rush, how do we do it? Where's our safest point of ejection? Where can we hide? Where can we go? What are our options? Again, hey, tactical officer, are there any asteroids nearby that we could hide in, for example? I'm going to set course for that. I'm going to be aware of this. I'm going to be aware of that. Throw these bones out to your fellow officers in terms of what they can give you for information so that you can then utilize it to position the ship in the safest possible place. It's entirely on you. So those are the kind of questions that you should be asking. What does this then mean during downtime? What are you doing? I am doing a course correction. Anything else? Nope. Ship's at warp. Everything's fine. All good. What you should be doing is researching the area into which the ship is going so that you can identify, oh, well, this area's got high subspace turbulence, or this area is full of asteroids, or it's ice asteroids, or it's this, or it's that. So doing a bit of research on where you're going, understanding the environment in which you are entering is really useful. This could also work on away missions. Oh, we're beaming down to the planet's surface? Cool. What are we going into? What is the environment in which we're going in? Science will be doing the same thing, so will the tactical officers, but combining together means you'll have a very good understanding of the situation that you're hopefully going to find yourselves in. And how to get out. What is your extraction process? What are you thinking? Those are, again, important questions to ask. So that's part of what a downtime is. Downtime should also be where you're engaging in hobbies, fun things, cool things, tinkering. Tom Paris, probably the most used navigator at the moment in terms of screen time and getting adventures and stuff. It was all about building the Delta Flyer, tinkering with cars, doing all kinds of weird and wonderful hobby kind of stuff. That's really useful, and there's a reason for it. He didn't have a lot else to do except fly the ship. When it comes to ship's orders, you have a lot of very, very basic stuff. Impulse to move the ship around, closing or opening distance. Again, consult with the tactical officer. Hey, what range do we want to keep between us and the enemy? How close do we want to be for our weapons to be most effective? That's really important because you then also have your attack pattern or your evasive pattern. Now, arguably, the captain will be saying, we need to avoid combat, so evasive pattern would then be applicable. And on the other hand, your captain might be saying, we need to hit them hard. Okay, great. The attack pattern is more applicable. Deciding which one, because both of those have influence not only on how easy or difficult it is to hit the ship, but also on how easy or difficult it is for your tactical officer to hit enemy ships. That's the key, is you're working as a team. You are not solo. Of all of the roles, this is probably the most cooperative role that you can have. Obviously, aside from being captain. Now, the helmsperson has got one of the least coolest jobs, but probably one of the most critical. And that is maneuver. The maneuver order is a momentum generator. Difficulty of 0. This is what we like. But don't just issue the, oh, okay, I'm going to do the maneuver order. I'm going to roll. Oh, look, I got some. Tell us what you're doing. Are you swinging the ship around? Are you rotating it on its Z-axis? Are you making it do a loop around the enemy ship? How are you getting this momentum? How are you positioning the ship? Think about it and make it cool. This is your moment to shine. So why don't you shine? Now, when it comes to creating traits, there are a lot of traits that you can create. And this is where I think Helm has the most opportunity to create the most fun kind of traits. And again, consult with your GM if these traits are applicable or not. I would also say that these traits only cost 1 momentum to generate, not 2, because they don't last for the entire scene. They only last until your next turn. Why? Because these are starship maneuvers, if you will, almost an extra layer of starship orders, or a subset of orders, if you will, but these traits I think could be really, really cool. The first one is erratic movements. So you are flying the ship in a non-predictable route or way. You're making no sense in terms of your velocities and that sort of thing, constantly changing it up. That should increase the difficulty number of your opponent's weapons to hit. Because, yes, we're flying straight, and now we're going left, and now we're going right, and now we're dropping down, and now we're going up again. We're just doing these erratic flight plans rather than these calculated flight plans. Trait number 1. Trait number 2, flip the ship. Decrease the difficulty of your torpedoes fired by the tactical officer to hit the enemy. So from a 3 to a 2. Why? Because you flipped the ship. The ship was going this way. Now suddenly it flips around and it's going in the opposite direction, coming straight at the enemy who's pursuing you, or pointing the aft torpedo launchers directly at the enemy. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're flipping the ship, giving that tactical officer some advantage with using torpedoes. Another one that does the same thing, but for energy weapons, would be a strafing run. Why not do a strafing run flying along the length of the enemy ship so that those energy weapons can lance down and just attack the enemy ship? Again, -1 difficulty to energy weapon attacks until your next turn. Barrel roll. You can barrel roll around. And what barrel rolling is doing is it's changing the shield emitters that are being presented to the enemy. Keep our shields facing the enemy. So that means you are rotating, you are rolling, all that kind of cool stuff. So your resistance increases by 1 whilst you are completing this barrel roll. It's just a fun way of saying, yeah, I'm keeping the fresh emitters focused towards the enemy fire. Then a last one, which I think is quite cool, but you would have to confirm with the captain that this is okay to do, would be interpose. And to interpose is to position your starship in between a target and the enemy. So if the enemy are targeting civilian ships, interpose us, put us between the two ships. Mechanically, this doesn't actually exist in the Star Trek ship combat world. This doesn't have a thing because the ships are considered to be dynamic, but you are making sure that you are staying in the way of a line of sight. And so what that does is it doesn't do anything mechanically other than force the enemy ship to target you if they are going to fire at a target. They can't target the civilian ship or the other ship that you are protecting. So those are some cool traits that I feel that the Helmsman should be able to do and add to their repertoire of fun stuff, because I think that's going to make it feel really dynamic. Those are my thoughts on playing Helm. Simple on the surface, but much more to it the deeper you dig. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them in the comments down below. How do you play Helmsman and how do you make Helmsman cool? Until next time, thank you for watching all the way through to the end. And of course, to my wonderful patrons who keep the lights on. Until we meet again next week, live long and happy gaming.